If you are selling, I want you to think about there's a difference between staging and living in. You can live and be super comfortable in your house and love the way it looks, but you have to remember that you are creating a product now, and you're creating a product for these buyers, and you don't know these buyers. Hey, it's me, Katie. I want to talk to you about a home that I listed when I got fired. So this was a couple of years ago. I had a pretty big name recognition in my town, specifically in a local downtown area. I had somebody reach out to me because she had seen my name and my sign, pretty much everywhere in town. They were ready to move, and she thought that I'd be a great agent to have come in. She had me come in, and I met her and her husband, and they said they weren't quite ready to move, and they might be moving in the next year, or they might be moving in 2 years. And I do that all the time. I go into people's houses years before they move, and we just have kind of an introductory talk. I give them kind of a range on pricing because I say I don't really know where the market's going to be at this time next year or in 2 years. So I say, right now, if you were to list at this time, and then I give suggestions as well. Usually before I meet with somebody, I send them a seller questionnaire, and the seller questionnaire will ask all the relevant information about the house, when they bought it, how much they paid, everything like that. And it helps me get an understanding of, are they just curious? Are they serious? Are they ready to go? Are they interviewing other agents? What is it that they want to accomplish out of our meeting? They didn't fill it out. Now, some people don't fill it out, but usually I find that's kind of a red flag when you don't fill out the seller questionnaire. No big deal. I went to the meeting and thought I'll just go and see what they're like. And what I did notice when I got there was the husband was very aggressive. When I go into somebody's home, I'm invited into their home, I really do view it as an honor that they've brought me into their home and they let me see the inside of their personal lives. And I don't even know them, especially because I'm in the community. I will say real estate agents know a lot of information. We know a lot of private and personal information, not just about finances, but about how the families interact with each other, how the husbands and wives treat each other. We can see what most other people can't see. So I usually will go in feeling like, thank you for having me. It is an honor. I get a lot of different personalities. Sometimes I'll go in and get personalities where they're really super nice and warm and affectionate. Sometimes I'll get people who are just very direct and to the point. And I'm very aware of that. So I know how I need to function when I go into an appointment. And when I went into this one, the wife was super sweet, very nice. The husband was aggressive. And when I say aggressive, he wasn't mean or rude. He was just very direct to the point. Like he knew exactly what he was saying. There was no changing anything that he had to say. He did not want to listen to what I had to say. And that was fine as well. And it was an introductory meeting. So I gave him the prices. He's like, well, I don't agree with that. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then I told them that their house had to be staged. And the reason why is because it had been lived in really, really hard. So it was a newer home, but it had been lived in, like a lot of wear and tear in the house. The furniture didn't match. His office was actually in the family room, and it didn't feel like it was pulled together. And so before I left, I said, you're really going to need to get this staged. But again, they really didn't agree with me about that. And I tried to explain the significance of staging a house. Now, I don't recommend every home has to be staged, but in some homes, when you're trying to get the highest dollar, you do need to stage it. And they were very committed to getting the highest dollar possible. So that was our first meeting, and it was fine. And I kind of kept them on my radar. Well, the following year, they called me kind of frantic and they said, we're ready to go right now. And I said, oh, okay, well, then let's talk. And when I went back over to their house, I told them their house had to be staged if they wanted the top of the market. And he was very clear. He wanted the top of the market. That had to be the top of the market. There was no talking to him about what appraised value was or what market value was or what the buyers were like. He just believed he needed top of the market. So I said, then you have to stage your house. You just have to. Now, my problem was when I went back the second time, I didn't really do a full presentation the way I normally do because I'd already met with them. So I didn't go through all the numbers that I should have gone through to explain to him. Because he was so aggressive with me and so adamant that he knew what was right, I honestly pulled back a little bit. And that's not really like me to pull back. So you can just imagine how aggressive he really was with me, where I felt intimidated. And I don't usually feel intimidated around my clients. I used to a long time ago, but now I'm pretty confident in what I'm saying to them, that I know what I'm saying, so I know what's right. And even I was like, you know what? I'm just not comfortable in this situation. But I didn't think it was in a house that I didn't want to list. I felt like we could work together because the wife was very nice and he would come around and sort of talk to me, and they did agree, okay, we're going to talk to a stager. So they had one of our great stagers come in, and they were very offended by what the stager said and recommended for them to do in the house. And that can happen, that situation, where sellers get very upset when a stager comes in and tells them what they need to do in their home, because obviously they've been living there. And so if you are selling, I want you to think about there's a difference between staging and living in. You can live and be super comfortable in your house and love the way it looks. But you have to remember that you are creating a product now, and you're creating a product for these buyers, and you don't know these buyers. Typically, these buyers are going to be millennials, and you need to make sure that house looks right for millennials. I mean, probably many of you out there have raised these children. So you need to think about, how do you want your house to look for your children? That's exactly what it's about. They were very offended by this company, and then they didn't like the price, which I didn't think was that expensive. It was about $5,000 total for the whole 3 months of staging, and that did not seem like a lot of money to me for the return that they were going to get from the house. But we did find them another stager who was a little cheaper, and they felt much more comfortable with them because that stager did not come in and make them feel like their house was not in good condition. They came in, they staged the house, and basically what they did is they told them to take out certain pieces and put them in the garage, and then the stagers came in and replaced some of the furniture. They did still use some of the furniture, but they replaced a lot of the furniture as well. And I went over to see it after the stagers were there, and I was like, this looks fantastic. They were thrilled. They were so happy with the staging. They're like, why didn't we do this before? And I will tell you that if you choose to stage or paint or do the things that an agent is going to say, you will say, why didn't we do this before? They loved it. They were happy, all thrilled. So then while we were there, I talked to them about price. I knew what price he wanted, and I told him that I thought that price was too high. And the way I said it is, I think that price is too high. And he's like, no, it's not. I said, no, it is. He said, no, it's not. I said, yes, it's too high. And before I went into that appointment, I told myself that I had to tell them that the price was too high. So I said, you know what? We can try it if you'd like. That's not a problem. I said, but I'm telling you, the price is too high and you probably won't get offers right out of the gate. He's like, the market's really hot. We've never seen it like this before. We have a great house. And they did have quite a nice house. However, it was in a location that was more of like a pass-through street, and they did not have any landscaping in their yard. In addition, there was a huge ditch right in the backyard. Like, it went way, way down. And a lot of people did not like that. And that was the way the village said the detention had to be in the yard when it was built. So there were a couple of things about the house that people didn't really particularly care for. In addition, there was this really ugly building that you could see right behind them. Now, there was really no landscaping there that they had never put in. So people really didn't like that either. So there were a couple things that people didn't like. In addition, the house, like I said, had been lived in hard, really, really hard. After I said the price was too high, he didn't agree with me. I said, fine, we'll try it. And I'll let you see that the market will tell you. If we don't get any offers in the first 2 weeks, your price is too high. If we get no showings in the first 2 weeks, our price is too high. If we get 15 showings in the first 2 weeks and no offers, our price is too high. So we started marketing it, and we did not get the traction I wanted. I called them a week after we went on because I could tell I needed to prep them to tell them that we are going to have to reduce the price. The problem is if you keep your house on the market for too long at too high of a price, people go away. The people who are going to make you the best offer are usually the people who are first in the door, because they might have lost another house, they might have lost in a bidding war, they're ready to go, they have their financing, and they have an agent. Those are all cues that somebody is ready to go, and that's a great buyer. So typically in those first 2 weeks, those are your best chances at getting an offer. If the price is too high, the people are going to say, you know what, their price is too high. Obviously, they listed it at this price. We're not going to come in with a low offer. I just don't want to come in with a low offer right now because the price is too high and they're not going to accept it. We'll come back in a couple of weeks. What may happen in those couple of weeks is they may have found another house, and then they go and buy it, or they forget about it because then they start saying, well, nobody else has bought it. What's wrong with it? Very common. So as sellers, what you need to think about is that you don't know this buyer pool. You don't know your target market. You don't know how they think. You don't know the psychology. Agents understand the psychology. So when we are saying your price is too high, you're not going to get an offer, it's because it's true. It's because that's how it happens. It's not because we want to make more commission. That is not it at all. It's because we are giving you advice that the price is just too high and you're not going to get an offer because people are emotional. This is an emotional transaction. This is not logical. People walk in, and if there's a funny smell in the house, they're done. If they walk in and it just gives them the weird vibes, they're done. I will tell you, houses carry energy. I know I'm going to tell you this. You're going to be like, what? I can tell you, houses carry energy. So many houses I have walked into, and I've been into thousands and thousands of homes, and I have sort of like this sixth sense when I go into a home and I can feel the energy, and I can feel that the energy is off. I can't tell you exactly what it is, but you can feel sometimes in homes that the energy is off. A lot of times this is homes where there is turmoil or there's a divorce going on. There's a lot of conflict. You can feel that. You can get that away. You can, work through that by kind of, like I said, doing the staging and making it feel more comfortable. But a lot of times if a buyer walks in and feels that negative energy, that's it. They're done. They'll walk out. Now that is not a logical conversation. That is not something you can just logically say, well, you should not have that feeling. So sellers need to understand this This is not a logical purchase. This is an emotional purchase. And that's what my sellers did not understand, that this was going to be an emotional purchase. And I couldn't logically explain to somebody, oh, all you need to do is put bushes in the backyard. All you need to do is not worry about the big hole in the backyard because that's where the water goes. The kids just don't play there during the day. These are emotional thoughts that buyers are having. And so when I would come in with a logical point to that, it didn't help. The point was the price was too high. Now, if the price had been $300,000, $400,000 lower, would we have ever heard an objection about the building in the backyard or about the yard or about how it was worn? We would never have heard an objection because all objections are overcome by a lower price. And so you won't hear those objections if the price was lower. But because our price was so high, we heard a lot of objections, of which the sellers just wanted me to say, well, you can just put in some landscaping. Well, to put in landscaping, you're talking another $20,000, $30,000 on top of a high price. People were not willing to do that. My sellers didn't believe me. They thought the reason the house was not selling was because of me, because I was not actually at the showings accompanying buyers' agents around the house and telling the buyers. One thing about accompanied showings by the listing agent is nobody likes them. The only people who like accompanied showings by the listing agents are the sellers. It does not work. People do not like them. And the buyers don't like them because they don't want somebody following them around the house. They don't like it. They're not comfortable with it. Also, in order to have accompanied showings by the listing agent, your schedule has to match up with 3 different groups, really 4. You have to match up the buyer's agent, the sellers, and the seller's agents. That's 4 groups you have to match up with on schedules. And listing agents, it's very hard for a listing agent to accompany a showing and not cancel. If you really, really think you want accompanied showings, you will probably get less showings. But they were very insistent. They wanted accompanied showings. So we did it. Our team accompanied every single showing. However, they said that I needed to be there. That may have been true. That may have not been true. I didn't think it was true because I don't accompany my showings. I have a full team that accompanies my showings who are very, very competent, capable. But they were insistent that I be there. And so this became sort of a fight like this between us. And it was a fight because I was insistent that the price was too high. And he was insistent that because I was not there explaining that he could pay to put in bushes, the whole relationship became a power struggle. I was insistent our price was too high. They were insistent it was because I was not there at the showings. After I called them after the first week and I said, our price is too high by probably $100,000, they were livid. Especially he was livid. He was very, very angry, yelling, screaming, just going off on me because I said the price was too high. Now, as sellers, you need to understand your agents are giving you information to help you sell your house for the highest amount of money. But he was so emotional about the situation that he couldn't hear me. Now, after another week of the house being on the market, we did get an offer. And the offer was $250,000 lower than the list price. It was too low. I knew the sellers weren't going to accept it. And our sellers were furious that we brought them an offer for $250,000 less than list. The buyers wanted the house. They said, this is what it's worth. There were no comps to support this high price. And that's what they wrote. I put it in front of the sellers. They were furious. They were livid at me for even presenting it. As real estate agents, we are required to present all offers, no matter how low they are, no matter how far along in the process you are. Even if you're a day before closing and you get an offer, we have to present it. So what was I to do? Not present it? And he said, we're not taking that. That's terrible. I said, that's fine. No worries. And they didn't take it. The people went and bought something else. So now we are 3 weeks into this listing and it is very, very painful because now our showings are going down and down and down and they still think that it's me and it's not the price. So I had ended up getting an email from the sellers that said we had been on the market for about 2 months and they were not happy. They felt that their house was priced correctly. In fact, they believed that the house could sell for more money if they had had better representation. So then I explained to them again that it was the price. And even though homes around them were selling, they were selling for less money and they were different types of houses. So they were insistent that they wanted a different strategy. Otherwise they'd go in another direction. And honestly, the strategy is about reducing the price. I hate to say it. We were getting showings. And when you're getting showings, that means your marketing is working because my pictures were working. It was bringing people in the door. But once they got in the door, the product is what was lacking. So when they said they were going to go in a different direction, I said, you know what? That would be fine. And so we immediately canceled the listing. No problems at all. Did not charge them anything at all. In fact, I received a note from them afterwards that stated, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, nothing personal at all, no hard feelings. And my response to them was, yep, that's exactly true. And that's why people can cancel with me at any time. I said, I really do want you to be happy. And I truly did. I really wanted them to be happy. And I wanted them to be satisfied with the agent that they had. And sometimes it is just not a fit. And it wasn't a fit for us. So I said, no hard feelings. If you need anything, please reach out. And he said, thank you. That means a lot to us. I started out by saying one of the worst clients, but really, that's not true. So what did I learn from this? Truly, I learned that that I needed to make sure that I was doing my full presentation on pricing, and no matter what stage. The problem is that I did it first a year prior, and then I just sort of winged it when they wanted to list it, and I didn't really go through all of the prices at that point. Second thing is I probably shouldn't have taken the listing, just because I have such a strong personality and he had a really strong personality, and sometimes it doesn't connect with people, and I will say especially men sometimes definitely get thrown by my strong personality. I definitely have strong men in my lives, but if they don't have the experience working with a strong woman, it can really cause conflict in the relationship. So I do know that I can definitely push people the wrong way, and I probably shouldn't have taken the listing because I know the type of personality that I won't work well with. And if I could have said probably what he should have done, probably not much. He is who he is, and as agents we have to adapt to our clients, and that's who he was. I was uncomfortable with how I was being treated, but some agents would have been fine with it. After we parted ways, he did choose a male agent, and the male agent has a strong personality, and the male agent got him to reduce his price by $100,000 when he got the listing, which is fine. They did sell the house, and they did sell the house for $20,000 more than our first offer. Granted, they'd been on the market for 6 months, so what were their carry costs? What were their taxes? What was their stress level? That's all things you need to think about. So was it worth the extra $20,000? In addition, if we had been priced correctly, we probably would have sold for list price. We probably would have sold an additional $30,000 for what they got for it, because you'd have more energy and more excitement for the home. You'd have more desire. You probably have multiple offers. So by actually choosing the path that they chose, they probably lost $35,000 plus carry costs. So is that worth it? That's what I want you to think about as a seller. Is it worth it to you to carry your house with the expenses, the maintenance, the taxes, the staging, the showings, the stress of the showings, the stress of hearing feedback that you don't want to hear anymore? Is it worth it? Is the money truly worth it to you? Do you need the money or do you want the money? And that is in this story to talk about the real life situation that can go on between a seller and an agent, and the pricing strategy and the emotions. You know, not everything as a seller is black and white, and sellers who think it's black and white are the ones who are going to lose money on the deal, and they're the ones who are going to have the most stress. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope you learned a lot from my story. In the end, I look at it as a learning experience for me to say, yeah, this is what I should have done. I have stories for every single deal that I do, just like this. When you're talking to your agent, when you select an agent, do they have experience? Are you listening to them? Are you working with them as a team? Are you getting to the end result? Because while a real estate agent is a salesperson, they are also truly a consultant. I want to make sure that you like and subscribe. In addition, right below, I have my seller playbook that I want you to download. Free, easy, simple. It's going to give you everything that you need to know in order to sell your home from start to beginning. I give you the paint colors. I give you what are you going to get the highest return for and the lowest return for. Where should you put your money in if you are updating? I want to be a real estate consultant for life. I want to help you sell your home easier, quicker, and for more money.